once somebody's coming in the game, they want to knock another process. And it's really just a tool. You know, you just haven't found the use of that tool yet.
Squeegee Podcast Season 2. This podcast is sponsored by Blind Maggot, Magna Colours, M&R, Target Transfers, and Adobe Creative Suite.
I'm Swin, the inventor of Fraqtals Print Pods and the founder of Fraqtals Apparel Academy. Let's get it in.
Yeah. You also do the YouTube channel, and you're actually doing quite a lot of different things all simultaneously, right? So can you explain the machines first? Because I feel like that's pivotal and then everything else is coming off it.
Yeah. So Fraqtals Print Pods is like an innovation to the traditional screen printing process. Pretty much it is a linear press and it's modular. So it really allows the user to have unlimited colors, and it also allows them to grow as their business grows or scale up or down as needed. The modular concept allows you to pull a piece or a print station out of the machine, and I take it to schools or do pop-up shops and things like that. And then I could just bring it back to the shop and just, add it back to the bigger machine. And it also allows, when I'm away doing print demonstrations, it allows people at the shop still to be able to print, just minus one print station. So it's pretty dope.
Yeah, it is really cool. So did it come about from looking at kind of like traditional line table printing like they have in like India and Africa and like South America? Like those, you see those huge big warehouses. Is it like a big innovation twist on those kind of processes?
Yeah, once I got into actually looking at presses, I mean, the story how I got into screen printing was pretty crazy. I'll get to that later. But once I got into, making my mind up like, all right, I need to make something because there's nothing really out here that fits what I'm trying to do. Then I started digging into it, and I seen some really cool concepts overseas. I just noticed that, it lacked a few things. For me, I was a one-person operation for years, when I started off. And so everyone I see overseas is multiple people using it. And if you don't have multiple people, then, it actually slows up your process. And that is the reason, because they had a guy with a little dryer coming behind it.
Yes, yeah.
And so I'm like, then there's a way I can innovate that by at least putting a flash dryer unit on there. And that took me on a year or two, experimental process, just trying to get that system down how I wanted it. And then once I got that, then I, look back at it. I'm like, okay, I like that pen, how they're using the pens to line it up. But then again, I'm like, man, you have to burn your screens like perfect.
Yeah.
There's not much of adjustment. So, to me, that was like, I didn't like that idea of having to be that precise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because, that's really that. I delved into how you're telling people to register, and I thought, oh God, this is going to be a huge process, but it wasn't. It was basically exactly how we line up a screen on a carousel, but you just kind of got like adjustable box. Can you explain that to people who haven't seen it, how you're registering the screens and putting them in the right place?
Yeah, so imagine, it has the registration brackets on it. And so how it works is, and people ask me this all the time, can they use their existing screens? And pretty much you just use your existing screens. And I have a video out there that pretty much just shows you how simple it is to drill the holes through that you need. And then with the registration hardware, which includes the bracket and the knob, that allows you to pretty much put the registration brackets into the eyelets, which slide in really simple, really easy. And then you can adjust your, however you want to register and line up your screens. Pretty simple. So it gives you a flexibility of about 6 to 8 inches. And that's a lot when you're thinking of trying to register 2, 3, 4 colors. That's pretty simple to move it how you want and then tighten the knob, and then it stays and keeps the registration.
Yeah. I really want people to like run onto YouTube and then look up fractals and see what, and like actually visualize it as well. Because so can you tell me about the flash station as well? Because I've seen it follow. Am I being silly? Is it following you down when you've got multiple stations? Is it on like a timer? It's like, yeah.
No, it has it's sitting on a trolley system. And so the trolley system allows me to, you know, if I'm working by myself on my 10 station, it's still really simple because it slides pretty much with like one finger and you just can drag it with you. And whether I'm on the same side as the dryer or I'm on the opposite side of the dryer, you can still slide it, you know, from the back with the handle as well. So it slides really simple. And that allows, and it has a 360 rotation to it. So as it gets to the end of the line, you just pick it up, slide it around, drop it back down, and it goes to the next. We do have an automated one that we've been working on. But, you know, I just wanted to get people kind of acclimated into this system. And we're still trying to work out some manufacturing things to make, you know, the price to be really affordable.
Yeah. And then I saw that you went to like a trade show. Is that something you're going to keep attending to show this off? And like, how are people interacting with the whole system? Like, I bet your booth must be buzzing because they've all seen carousels before, but they haven't actually seen this process before.
Yeah. We've gone to a few trade shows and we've had a lot of really good reviews. You know, we've been received very well. And that was my biggest, I guess, worry or stress, you know, spending 10 years in this process of, you know, working on it. And then, you know, it's always in the back of your mind, like, damn, I spent like every dollar I had on it, you know, all the extra time I had. And I don't even know if people are going to like it, you know. So when we start going to trade shows and just seeing how people received it, and a lot of people are like, man, I've been to these trade shows for years and I've never seen anything like this and innovative. You know, all the screen print machines here are basically built the same. And this is the one that I really made it for brands and people like, you know, myself that, you know, just started off with the one station. And before you know it, I'm a print shop. And I wanted to make something that allowed the user to be able to grow with the machine, rather they're one operating print shop or a 10-person operation. You know, it can still speed up your productivity. Yeah.
So there are like massive advantages to it, but then there are like a few drawbacks. But like, what do you think like would be the ideal circumstance for it? Do you think it's water-based printers so that you've got more time for the ink to kind of like evaporate the water? And that's basically what's happening here, from what I can see is they're like water-based printing was really popular and you had like line printing and stuff like that. Then you had plastisol, which was easier to do on a carousel, but now people are going to water-based again. So that's why
honest, I never printed water-based before.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I started off screen printing plastisol, and a few times I jumped in, you know, thought about doing it, but I just heard there was a lot of drawbacks with water-based. And I like to keep my ink on the screen.
Yes.
I don't like to worry about my ink drying up on the screen. And so I just kind of stayed away from it. So I've only worked with plastisol. And so the Fraqtals machine works really well with that, especially with the infrared dryer. It dries the shirt pretty much, and you know, it lightly cures it to touch from like 10 to 12 seconds. And so that's pretty quick. And so when I'm working with one or two, like at least 2 to 3 people on my 10 station, we can fly through 100 shirts like really fast.
Yeah.
Less than an hour. And I think that's really productive.
Yeah. Do you think, so I want to talk about like advantages and disadvantages. So like one of the big advantages is what you said earlier is like you can buy this machine and then next year you don't have to try and sell it, afford a new machine and then like upgrade, and the upgrade is scary. Whereas with yours, you can kind of like add station by station and nothing's becoming redundant. But then one of the disadvantages might be like you have to walk further to the dryer each time, but the printing's efficient for single and double and two colors, which is what most people are doing 90% of the time anyway, isn't it? So how are you getting around things like that?
How I see it is this. It has a few other benefits that other machines don't have. Most people screen printing, at least 75 to 80% of people screen printing are doing it out of their house or their garage. Mm-hmm. So they don't have the space of a carousel machine. You know, so that's the major focus, is that we have the smallest footprint. My 10-station machine only takes up 96 inches by 36 inches. That's amazingly small for a 10-station machine. So my 6-station is only 63 inches by 36 inches. So like it fits in a garage. You can have a manufacturing space in a garage of a 6-station and still have your vinyl cutter, your embroidery machine. You know, most people are doing it at the most out of the garage. My 1-station, the Q1, allows you to be in your bedroom and still be able to have unlimited colors in your process. So, and then have the mobility to be able to take it in a truck as small as a RAV4 and take it around town and do print stage. You know what I mean? So the benefits highly outweigh the cons in that way. And yes, it's the best thing besides an automatic machine because it works off of manpower. So that's what I say. You may have to walk a little further, but you'll get a lot more done.
Yes. Yeah, I hear that. Also,
you can stand in one place and move the carousel and work slower, because this was my thing. When I had a carousel, when I first started, my friends would come by the shop and they'd be, you know, can I help you with something? And it's not really much you can help me with on the carousel. It's just a one-person machine. But with my Q5 or my Q3, I'm like, so you can slide the dryer and pull those off, and we can put them all on at the same time, and that speeds up the process. There's really no way to really speed up a carousel too much.
Yeah, I think you're right. But there's a huge opportunity there for like brand owners who don't want to get their shirts printed by a big screen print studio because they can't quite invest and they can't hit the minimum orders, but they still want colorful designs available to them. So then your system is allowing them to have like a 4-color design already lined up on your shelf. And then you're literally just carrying it over to the press and printing 2 or 3 and putting it back if you want. That's massive, isn't it? So
that's massive. That's key. I mean, that brings me back to how I started. I started off as a brand, and after a while, as I started printing for other people, I never got to my brand, because as soon as I loaded up my 2 or 3 color designs, somebody would come in my shop and be like, "Oh, I have an order, right?" And then it's like, I got 2 or 3 colors registered. I don't want to have a register this. And then, you know, and so it always had me unregistering my designs to do a customer's designs. And so that took me away from my brand. And that's the biggest thing I hear on the conversation on social media, is that you can't be a brand owner and be a print shop. Right. If you have a carousel machine, you can't do both, because your brands will always cover your amount of arms that you have available. Or you'll have to just print a whole bunch of shirts and hope they sell, and you get stuck with a lot of smalls and a lot of, you know, odd sizes. So I eliminated that, and I really made it for the brand, because that's how I started off. And I'm finally able now to get back to my brand because I have the Fraqtal machine. Yeah.
Everything you're saying is ringing very true, because I moved the other way. I wanted my own brand, so I had to move out the customers to make way for that.
Oh, okay.
And then I've got a 4-color design on my press right now. I can looking over it and the inks are on there. And I'm like, I don't want to take that off, because like the company didn't give me like a batch of my shirts. But I'm not taking those screens up, because they took a while to register. So I have to keep them on there. They're blocking up the machine. But if I had your system, you could just, not even thinking about it, take the screens off, whack them back up when my shirts arrive again.
Exactly.
It is. Yeah. I'm surprised. Yeah. Are you? I know you can't be guarded about like ideas and stuff because you need to tell everyone about them. But are you a little bit scared that like a huge manufacturer of print equipment is just going to swoop in with their own version?
Yeah, I have a patent on the majority, especially the modular system portion of it, how it registers, the registration brackets, the eyelets, the trolley system, and the modular portion of it. So I have, some, protection of it, but I understand there's always ways around it. And, that was one of my biggest concerns or my biggest fears as letting it out is that, somebody can come by and steal it and take the idea. And, but, that's just something I got to deal with, when that comes. And so our biggest thing as our team is just, we need to get it out, get our momentum flowing and let people know that Fraqtals was the leader in this. We're the ones that brought it to make it available in our market. Yeah. There's no other machine that's a linear press, that's unlimited color, that's modular, that's available in our market. You can't really buy those.
Also, something that makes you like less scared is the fact that you're innovating this so quickly. So by the time they've copied number 2 or number 3 version, you're already on number 5 because you've got the customer feedback and you're literally manufacturing it. So do you make them to order or do you have like stock, or how are you working out what inventory you need for these machines?
Yeah, I've been making them to order, and we just started working with the manufacturer in our region, and we're just working through a few specifics just to get it right, how we want it, because I do want to be able to, for one, lower the price, speed up our turnaround time. But I do see it as art. I'm an artist, and so each one that I make, it's a work of art. And so I think people feel that when they get it. It's individualized. Everyone that they've gotten up to this point, I've welded, I've cut, I've made it, I've powder coated it. Everything that you see on it is really just, an extension of my imagination. So I do like that idea of it, but at the same time, I do want to get it out to the masses. And we do have a big plan to get it out in different schools and really launch our apparel academy, which is really going to, change the business model. And so, it's time to get it out. And sometimes, it's like you hold on to your baby as long as you can. And then, you got to let it out to the world.
Can you tell us why it's called Fraqtals as well? And I want to know like how you got into the industry as well, because you said that was an interesting story or like unusual.
That's a very interesting story. So Fraqtals, I got the name because, I went through I registered probably 10 different names and different websites as I was building it. I had, one was called Freedom Press. I had online, it was Inline Pods. I had Inline Press. I had so many domain names for once. I was paying like $400 a year on domain names.
Yeah, I've done that. I know what you mean. And it's just like renew, and you're like, no, I can't do renew 50 websites.
And so I think when I got to the point where one of my most latest iterations of it was the modular portion of it. And then in Fraqtals, that word always stuck out in my name. I learned it when I was a kid, I think in like 5th grade science of what a Fraqtals was. And it always stuck in my mind, and most people don't know. So Fraqtals is a geometric shape of nature that pretty much if you scale it, it looks the same as the smallest version and the bigger version, like almost like a tree. Like if you stand back and look at a tree and you zoom up and look at the branch, it pretty much looks like the same thing. And so as you break my machine apart, my Q1 looks the same as the Q5. It's just bigger. So I like that idea of it. And I'm really heavy into sacred geometry, as you can see, like, on my wall. And I'm really deep in like being harmonious in whatever I do. When I was in music, you just got to be harmonious in whatever it is. And so Fraqtals is, I think, is just like in harmony with what's going on in the apparel industry and how people function and just the usability of it, you know, from the small footprint and the flexibility of it. Like everything about it is harmonious. Like from the way it's shaped, I've rarely been into a room that was circular. I've been in maybe one circular room in my life, but they make the screen print machine circular. So there's a lot of dead space, and that's not harmonious. So, you know, as I made mine square and linear, and you can slide it up against the wall and still have so much space, but still be so productive. And that's, you know what I mean? So everything about that really made sense to me. So I just cut all those other domains out the way.
Yeah.
I dropped them all, and I'm like, I'm going with Fraqtals. And this really gives me a chance to educate people on what a fractal is.
Yeah. No, I really like that. That's a really good answer. I've never heard an answer like as deep, and actually it's kind of something to guide you through all your business decisions. You're like, is that harmonious? No, I'm not doing it then. It like goes against my ethos and stuff. No, that's really clever. Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to show you a fractal on the wall. Our big fractal is that triangle that you can, right? The pyramid shape. So as you can see, the bigger one looks the same as the smaller ones in the inside. And that's just what we are in the universe. And they say as you zoom up to our cells in our body look the same as like if you zoomed all the way out to the universe and how it orbits and how, you know, the molecules circle around it, like everything as a balance is a fractal. So like that.
Yeah, you're reminding me a lot of one of my brothers because he talks as passionately as you do about this machine and stuff, but he talks it about physiotherapy and stuff. So you're like, okay, so what about this method that he's come up with? And he's like, he goes into it and he like believes in it so much, and he's got like a whole new take on it. And I feel like you probably need someone like you who's like innovative, but also kind of constantly looking around to be inspired by like, yeah, that's really clever. Yeah.
I mean,
just remind me.
You know, to put this much time, and I'm sure he's dedicated a lot of his time in his life. And, you know, to dedicate as much time as I have, it has to mean something to me. And for me to sacrifice what I've sacrificed, and it has to mean something, and it has to be bigger than me. It really has to be able to improve somebody's life. And, you know, and that's the passion that fueled me when I ran into a lot of walls and like, man, I can't figure this out. There's nothing out there. I need this piece that's 2.5 inches, but there's nothing out there. Everything is 3 or 1.5. And it like I had to work around so many obstacles. Yeah, you have to be passionate about it. And it's not about the money. And it's really about how it can improve people's lives. Yeah.
And then I was looking right back into like where you started, and you said it was quite a long time ago, but then you said 10 years ago, you were given this opportunity to start your business in a space, and it was like a gutted out, like there was nothing there. And the guy can you tell us about that?
So, man, the story even starts back further than that. So I used to get shirts made from a DJ. He's a local DJ in town, and he used to print them out of his bedroom. And one day we went to get some shirts made for my record company, and he was telling me he's out of business, right? He was like, man, I'm going out of business, man. Like, here, buy this machine for $75. It was a 1-station 4-color. I bought it. I didn't know the first thing about screen printing, but I seen him a few times make our shirts. And, you know, I hauled it around. I moved a few different places. I moved to Houston, took the machine with me. There was a guy that my brother knew that knew a little bit about it. So he taught me how to make screens and stuff. So I got into making it. And when I realized, okay, like I started painting. I started a figure painting T-shirts. That was my first like adventure in the actual doing t-shirts for myself. And so I figured, man, this machine can help me. I can print tags or print some background before I finger paint. And then, you know, as time grew, I started printing for other people. Once they figure out that you print, you know, oh, I need 10 shirts. I need, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't know the first thing really about it. The first screens that I motioned was with the cookie sheet. I, you know, this is YouTube, and I was just like, I don't know what that thing is that they're using, but it looks like a cookie sheet. And I had like no money. So I did find some emulsion at a local art supply place, and I put it on this cookie sheet, and I put it on there. It was thick as hell, but it worked, right? And so pretty much every aspect of the business of screen printing, I learned a workaround to. You know? And then as I started printing, I realized, okay, I'm running out of space. I'm never getting to my jobs that I wanted and my brand. And then I started looking at other machines, and that's when I realized, like, damn, all of them are pretty much like this. I could get a 4-station, 4-color. I'm like, I'm gonna have the same problem because I only have 4 screens. And I'm like, okay, I get a 6-color. I'm like, damn, when is this gonna end? Pretty much, like, I'm still never gonna get to it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
All right. So, and then I'm like, all right, I seen that some overseas, probably in Thailand or Philippines or something. And I look like, what are those guys doing? Like, what is that? Seems so much better. Like, I lost a really big job to this mariachi conference. And this is before DTF. This is before DTG. And it was pretty much just screen printing like 10, 12 years ago. And I lost, it would have been my biggest job today, like 500 shirts. And they needed like 5 colors. And I was 4 colors.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is never going to happen again. I'm going to make this machine. So the first one I made was out of wood. And I came up with my own little registration type pins or whatever. And it worked. And I used it for like 2 or 3 years. And I was like, man, this is dope. Like, yeah. I think, you know, the first one I made was a 10-station. It was big. It was like I put pallets on top. Anyway, it worked. So, you know, like just going through that process and having people come in and be like, man, what kind of machine is that? Like, that looks pretty cool. Like, you should probably sell that. And I'm like, all right. And then, you know, just start building and building. And so I got into this place. I'm like, man, I wanted to get my shirts into my painted shirts into local boutiques. And everyone I went to, they denied me.
I've seen them and they are detailed. They're like paintings on canvases, but on shirts, aren't they? So like, why are they denying that? That's crazy.
They see me as competition. And that just, it showed me a few things. One is that, okay, like people are either intimidated or they're really onto their own thing. They're not inclusive. And so that told me one thing. Once I get a shop, I'm going to invite artists. Like, I understand the value of people in a community and a collective. And so I'm like, all right, cool. I guess y'all want me to get my own shop. So I had to get a shop, and it was a rundown warehouse. It had no walls. There was a hole in the ceiling. And I negotiated with the owner. I'm like, man, this has never been used, it looked like. Like, let me come in here, give me like 8 months free rent, and I'll fix it up for you. And then I negotiated like a cheap fine, like $400 a month, right? And it had a little upstairs there. It was a cool little shop. And so he's like, cool. So just him giving me a chance and an opportunity to come in. And I think I fixed that thing up. I worked like day and night, fixed it up in like 2-3 weeks. So I was able to have a working shop for free for like 8 months, right? That really got my foot going in the game. And you know, just learned it. Just learn piece by piece.
Yeah.
Another funny story is that when I didn't have a dryer. I didn't have a conveyor dryer or a flash dryer. And so I was putting them in the oven.
Oh, you're not the first person to put them in the oven. How are you doing this? And then you're giving them to the customer and you're like, oh, that's a bit hot. And you're like, how do you know what's happening? in the oven?
I looked, online, there wasn't a whole bunch of videos, but I was finding some stuff and it was saying that it needed to be 325 degrees and it needed to be for this time. And once you see it smoking, it's dry. So I'm like, cool. I had a little timer and I made like a little wood type of palette to put the shirt on and then slide it in the oven, set my oven to 325. So
have you got your fire extinguisher right here?
I was running back and forth, put my shirts in the oven. And I think I got distracted one day. I put it in the oven. I think somebody was called me or was at my door. I can't remember. And so I got in a conversation. I was talking and then one of my kids ran out and said, my kids were young at that time. And they said, the kitchen's on fire. The kitchen's on fire. I ran in and the shirt was smoking. It was all brown and burnt. And so I'm like, man, I figured I went to everybody in my family, I need to get, please.
I nearly killed everyone.
Invest in me. I need to get this dryer so that, I don't burn my house down. And so, yeah, that was a funny story. And it's just a testament. I tell people, don't let nothing hold you back. Mm. You can start. You don't have to have the best machine. You don't have to have a Fraqtals. You don't have to have, you just start with what you have. Keep growing with that. Learn the business. Learn how to talk to customers. Learn customer service. Learn the art of printing. And, start from there. You'll grow.
Yeah. That you've got these skills and I'm wondering where you got them from. And you said that the first machine that you made was made of wood. But now in your videos, I'm seeing you do loads of welding and you're having to use metal, obviously. Is that something you've taught yourself or is that something from a previous career or job that you had?
I've always learned to work with wood, man. My father, I was fortunate that my father always made me go out and work with him in the backyard. He built a lot of different things. So I was, he taught me at a young age how to use a saw and, how to use a drill, how to use the power tools. And so I was really good. And, and then I got a teenager, I was making speaker boxes for my car, woofers and stuff like that. So I learned, the craft of how to make things. And so I did when I first wanted to transition Fraqtals from winning the Fraqtals, but the wood print press that I made into a metal, I worked with this guy and it cost so much for him to make this prototype for me. And I knew that wasn't the end. So I'm like, I'm never going to be able to create and imagine like I want to if I have to go through somebody else, to work out my ideas. So I'm like, man, I looked online. I could buy a welder for $400.
Yeah, put it in the oven and then it's fine.
Exactly. I'm gonna make it happen. So I went to YouTube University for a couple months and seen how I was supposed to weld, and I just kept working with it. And and just it's the same building techniques, just a new medium. And so welding, I got pretty good at it.
Yeah. So just self-teaching every hurdle that comes across, because that's the correct mentality, isn't it? You're never going to get in if you're not problem solving constantly. So yeah. So you talked about your team as well. How are you getting people who have the same kind of problem solving mentality and also the kind of work ethic that you have on your team? How are you attracting those people? Do you already know them, or how are you getting them involved?
It was tough. Yeah. At first, there's not a lot of people that think in that way or used to moving through life in that way of constantly problem solving. And so I went through quite a bit of different employees, trying to be team members. And most of the time people are looking for an instant gratification. Mm. And, unfortunately, but fortunately enough, this process has not been that, but it's taught me a lot. And music was pretty much my first art form that I really spent a lot of time with. And my partner that I made a lot of music with, his name is Tu. And, he was in a different state at the time. And, I tried a lot of different formulas in my shop with people. And I realized when they don't have an ownership or they don't have a passion for it, business doesn't grow, especially when you're starting from, where I was at as being a single person operator, the visionary, the founder. I needed somebody that can match that, at least understand that work ethic. And so my partner too, we spent countless hours in the studio doing music. We understand the process. We understand the pursuit of perfection, redo that again. That verse, that sounded good, but hit that one more time. Or man, try that again. Like we understand that process of not settling for mediocrity. And so as he moved back in town, I'm like, man, like this is a great opportunity. Like I have this shop, this business that I'm doing, and I'd love to bring you in as a partner. And that's like somebody that is very hard to find that understands that process and understand it's not an overnight thing, but we're building. Build like our motto is we keep building till we own the building. And
I like that.
And that's what we're doing right now. So, and that right now that works for us.
Yeah. And that doesn't just mean the building you're in. It's like, it could be like a metaphor for like the industry. It could be like, we just keep building until we own like saturate the whole thing. There is something that I'm really jealous that you've got and that I don't have any talent in this area at all, which is like on your YouTube videos. Is that you rapping in the beginning and doing the whole intro song?
Some of them, I believe. There is a few videos where I'm rapping. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'd love to do my own intro song, and I can't like kill the rap genre of music and do it myself. But I do want something, and I can't get it out of my head. As like I want my own intro song, and you've got it, and you also have your own kind of like. Can you tell me what like woo woo is like when you start your videos? Is that like another way of just saying "oh hi guys" or like what is that? Where did that come from?
Woo woo was like an expression of capturing the now. Like when somebody says something that just hits that core and gives you the chills, be like, woo, woo. Like that's like, and the full form of it is I used to do it on my music all the time and like, woo, 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 woo. And so like I got that from my tribe, from the LA tribe in Benin. And so as I, kind of got away from music and everybody knew me as Boo Boo because they hear my music. And so I just kind of, took that form and brought it over as, like just an expression of understanding, like we living in the now. And what you just said or what I just said is like right on. Like,
yeah. And it's like your calling card because now you're starting everything with it and you know that you're about to be like, start presenting yourself. It's quite hard to like start those videos there, isn't it? Sometimes. Did that come naturally to you, like starting those from having all your background in music? Do you have the confidence there? Or
it's crazy you say that because it's one of my hardest things, and I understand, and I've performed a lot in front of a lot of people. So I can imagine for a person or people that's not familiar or comfortable with performing or get in front of the camera or whatever it may be, how hard that is. And so, and even for me, it's like I had to like intentionally put myself on a schedule to be like, you're going to shoot this video today. It doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be this or that. Like your environment doesn't have to be great. And so as you can see on my motivational videos, I intentionally shoot it in my workshop that's probably the least attractive place in our building. You know what I mean? Like I could shoot it here where it's cleaner, it's better lit. I choose to shoot it in that place because I'm trying to convey energy to that person that, man, this is where you start. Like you see me as the inventor of fractals and I did these things and what we're doing, like, but this ain't where I started. that's not where that energy grew from. It grew from a place like this that you see the tiles are kind of falling from the ceiling and it's an old beat up place. But even in that beat up environment, I can make beautiful art.
Yeah.
And Fraqtals comes from there. And I had to overcome a lot. Like a lot of that is just me telling myself, people aren't going to like that, or that doesn't look good.
Let's do that again. But, don't allow yourself too many takes.
Exactly. Like, you said that word wrong, or it's dirty in the background, or, people aren't going to think this or that. Like, I had to really fight that inner demon. Like every day, we all do. Like, that's the main thing. We have to fight those inner demons. And that's what I'm talking about in my motivational videos. Those are thoughts. Those are the thoughts that I was thinking when I'm welding day in and day out, or I'm cutting this, or I'm trying to come up with this idea. My thoughts are telling me, man, you're wasting a lot of time. Like, people aren't going to like it. Or, like, you're here by yourself doing all this stuff. And like, you can spend 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. Like, all of these things are in my head. You're going to do all of this work and nobody's going to love it. Like, so and that's what it is. I understand what people feel. And I think I have a unique opportunity as an inventor of a screen press to be able to get in front of people and just convey that energy to them of an entrepreneur. And know that, it doesn't, my next video I'm about to shoot, I'm giving it, when we get done with this, it came this morning, I'm like, I'm waiting for my money to catch up. Like, sometimes we work too fast and our money, it don't catch up. You know what I mean? I can't imagine anyone meeting you at a trade show or, like, I don't know, in a demo or an art class and not feeling that energy off you. I don't understand how they couldn't. So that's what's making you memorable and stuff, because your interactions aren't, I don't know. You see a lot of people at trade shows and they're worn down and they're tired and they're not invested in the business. They're like an employee of it and they're told what they have to say. And then it's like, I'm dragging it out of you trying to get information about this machine. But you're the opposite, because you're not even ramming it down their throats. You seem to be coming at it from, like, what is the problem that you're having? Oh, you don't need the 10 color yet. You're just like matching what your solution is to their problem instead of trying to oversell them on your biggest piece of kit and stuff. So, I mean, that's the greatest part of starting off as the janitor and then working your way to the CEO. You understand every job, every process. Like, you not even understand how to do it. You understand the mindset of it. And so I think that's what people feel when when I get a chance to talk to them, is that, man, I am you. I'm you. Like, I have a video that tells people, I am you. I understand where you're at. Like, exactly wherever you are, I was there. And I made a machine that can fit that. I don't know who the owner of most of these machines are. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they've ever spoken to you before.
No, they haven't spoken to me. I'd probably have to look up on Wikipedia and, like, scroll right to the top to see who the inventor was, but probably look it up.
Probably some engineer maybe, or maybe somebody that, like, maybe screen printing, but I don't know. Like, and that's what, in this day and age of social media and having the connectivity and like this, where are you at in England, right?
I'm about an hour and 20 away from London, just like in the south of England.
I'm in Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah.
Like, for us to have a conversation in real time, no other time in the world that this is possible. So for you not to know and have a direct contact with the person that makes the machine that you use every day is, like, ridiculous. Like, to me, you know what I mean? Like,
do you reckon that leads? Did you see the question that I do? And it's called, like, your unpopular opinion in the print industry. So, like, it's meant to be a little bit controversial, but, like, what do you think that is like opposed to the general consensus of what everyone else is going on about?
I've been getting a lot of, I've been seeing a lot of conversations online about, and it's good, some of these new formats. And screen printing is pretty much the oldest application. It's changed a few times, and it hasn't changed a whole bunch since it started. And that tells you how good something is when it hasn't changed that much, and it still is the most used when it comes to like high volume and things like that. So I like that, there's new ways for people to get into the industry, and it allows them to start their brand and get working and, be self-employed. So, my least consensus to what's going on is that people need to learn the trade. Learn what you're doing, take that time, take that passion. This isn't something, well, it might be for some people. I can't say it isn't. I've seen some people jump in and make a lot of money really fast. It all depends what you want. I would just say focus on what you want.
Are you talking about transfers and stuff? Like some people aren't learning screen print, they're not putting the work in, and they're just like whacking transfers on, which is quite a de-skilled way of doing it. Is that what you're referring to? Yeah. I mean,
that too, and that's a good way. It's like an easier process, and that's good. It's like microwave. The microwave is great. It's great until the power goes out, or it's great until, you have to actually make something from scratch. And looking for a lot of people, when you're trying to microwave, that's not the best solution.
Yeah.
They're actually slower trying to microwave food rather than cooking it.
I'm going to use that. Can I use that metaphor like going forward? That is a smart way of describing it.
And that's why they don't microwave. Like if you're in a military and you're making chow for 100 people, they're not microwaving it, they're cooking it. And it tastes better, right? It's better for you. So there's just different ways, but I can't knock where people are going with it. That's just not a way that I learned. We use a heat press. We use DTF in our shop. We use embroidery machines, screen printing, vinyl, and that's it. Like for a long time, I only used screen printing, but the more you stay in the business, you're going to use all of the tools in your toolbox. As a person that makes things all the time, my drill and my drill press is my most popular machine that I use. But I also use the wrenches. I also use the welder. I also use, I use all of these different tools.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it just, that's probably the most unpopular thing I like, but is that when somebody's coming in the game, they want to knock another process. And it's really just a tool, you just haven't found the use of that tool yet.
Yeah.
But once you find the use of it, you'll be like, oh man, this tool is great. And it's just something you add to it.
Okay. Yeah. So apart from just getting fractals out, can you tell me about the idea behind the art classes and stuff? And how are they set up? Because does everyone have the same T-shirt and then they all color it at the same time? Or can you tell me how you lead those classes?
So our print and paint is an idea that I've probably been sitting on for a long time. Like I said, I came in to the shirt industry by finger painting on T-shirts. And I didn't have the stencil when I started. I was just free hand doing portraits and things like that. But I always wanted to teach a person and have a class and have that environment. So as me and my partner got together and started brainstorming on ways that we could throw this course, we gave people the option, let's do a coloring book style. Everybody can kind of color nice in a coloring book. You know what I mean? With the outline and that stencil. So, we choose a couple of different maybe outlines that we're using for that class, and then people come in and choose. and then we allow them to come in and screen print it. So like 95, 99% of the people that come in our courses never screen printed before. They haven't painted in years, if ever, let alone with their fingers. So it's finger painted as well. So, you know, people are really out of the element, but it's a great environment. We give them a chance to screen print their stencil on the shirt so they get that experience on the Fraqtals. And then we put it on the easels, and then we get a chance to finger paint and just express yourself through art.
Yeah. I just thought of another like absolutely blatant idea for the Fraqtals, like when you can use it. It's just at events, isn't it? So like you've got like 10 different designs, pick a design, put it on. Yeah. That's it. Like,
Yeah. So, so in a lot of people, it's that free where we're, you know, we'll get to that. This is only like our 5th session that we've had. And, you know, it's getting better each time. We're giving people more options to print. Our first one was a 420 event. I don't know if you guys do 420 over in England.
I don't know what 420 is, sorry.
Okay. I get a chance to educate you. So 420 is like, it's a marijuana expression. And so that's becoming legal in a lot of states here in the US. So a 420 is like pretty much a code word for, you know, marijuana or, you know, like, So
all we got is CBD oil.
Got you. So we did Bob Marley, I'm sure you're familiar with. We did Snoop Dogg, and we did Cheech and Chong. And those are people that's just synonymous. They're known for the weed smoke, right? So we did those, and it was really dope. Our next session was like a Dear Mama, and it was a Mother's Day event. And so we did like a nice colorful butterfly and a rose. And so we're just growing with different ideas, and people get a chance to come in our space and just feel our vibe. And, you know, they leave out feeling great. Like, wow, you know, this is like a new experience. Yeah. And
you've obviously got the music on as well. Like, So it's like an entertaining workshop event with no stress, because you're leaving with what you created and you get to wear it. Like, people's faces light up so much when they do their first screen print, don't they? So,
I haven't seen anything like that where I've been to sipping paints where they're painting on canvas, but I haven't seen one where they're doing it on T-shirts.
No.
And so for me, that was like a no-brainer, because that's where I started. I started painting on shirts. And just that, I guess that's a unique combination of a person that is an artist that paints on shirts and screen print. And so I think for me, that was something that those ingredients were just in me. And so it kind of came out naturally to our print and paint.
Yeah. Would you consider like franchising that as a party thing, like for other people to host fractal print and paint parties? Because it seems something that, How is it?
Yeah, that's exactly what we want to do. And, you know, right now we're just building up the energy around it. And, you know, that I can see that really growing. And one of the other aspects that we wanted to bring in, like I said, is I'm really inclusive. So once I get it going, and me, you know, I've been the artist, the showcase artist, but I really want to invite other local artisans in different places that we travel with it, invite those artists to come in and host a night. And they might be a painter on T-shirts. So it gives them opportunity to paint on a new canvas as well. And, you know, they might be a local tattoo artist that is real popular. And we want to bring them into our space and host a print and paint. And I think that'll be dope.
Yeah. God, there's no boundaries to the things that you're creating at the moment. That must be like exciting. But like, I know when you've got a lot of thoughts and ideas in your head, you're kind of always like semi-frustrated that you're not like actually physically doing them, isn't it? It's horrible.
It's very frustrating. I have to take a lot. I have to constantly remind myself it's kind of one step at a time. And even though I've always been a big picture person, and that's, I think, is the hardest thing, because it's just now 10 years of me visioning Fraqtals and what it's going to be. when I first started making it. And so it's just now coming into fruition and in the focus. So along with the print and paint, that was also like, so it's just a lot of the pieces that take time to actually grow and to mature. So yeah, it's frustrating at times, but you know, like I said, it takes a little time for it to catch up.
Yeah. Brilliant. I think I've asked you everything that I wanted to say. Is there anything else you want to tell people, or like, where do you want people to follow you and the Fraqtals journey? Are you going to be at any trade shows soon as well?
We're looking for some trade shows. The next one that's really on our coast is coming up in, I want to say October, which is in Texas. So we'll probably be there. But man, the biggest thing I'm trying to convey to people is that you can never give up. You got to start where you're at and overcome those internal demons of doubt that tell you can't and you shouldn't. And all of these, you have to conquer those daily in order to get your goals. And you can find me at Fraqtals. I'm on Instagram as Fraqtals, and also Swindoe Woo Woo. And, Fraqtals.com. I'm just excited. And I appreciate inviting me onto your platform and introducing me to new people. And the vibe is there. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, no problem. I'm really excited to get you on as well. That's awesome. Oh, you've revved me up, but it's like 9 o'clock at night here, so I'm supposed to be chilling out. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay. Right, cheers. Bye. Bye.